The rain was coming down like crazy, like someone had torn open the sky. On the main road in Dar es Salaam, floodwater was already up over the sidewalks. Dirty, muddy water, swirling with plastic bags and rotten vegetable leaves at the street corners. A black Mercedes S600 raced through the downpour, its headlights cutting through the gloom like swords, splashing up walls of muddy water that nearly swallowed a small figure on the roadside. It was a woman, wrapped in a worn-out plastic raincoat, faded to a dull gray white, with TRSA round the edges. She was hugging a little girl, maybe 5 years old, holding her tight against her chest, shielding her face from the rain. The girl, Lucy, huddled inside her mother's arms, her little face blue from cold, her eyelashes beaded with raindrops. She didn't make a sound. The woman's name was Amina. She was about 30, her eyes showed a toughness forged by hard times. Her husband had been killed 2 years ago, working in a mine up north in Tanzania. A sudden cave-in. To make things worse, the greedy contractor ran off with the money meant for the families, couldn't even be bothered to give her husband a proper burial. Since then, Amina had been on her own, just trying to survive on the city's edge with her daughter. They lived in a tin shack in the suburbs, one of thousands. Rain leaked through the roof, wind whistled through the cracks. Amina spent her days selling cassava cakes by the road. Come nightfall, she'd scavenge for scrap. Sometimes she'd do some cleaning for the church, in exchange for a meal. She never complained, didn't beg. Lucy is watching me, she'd say. I can't fall apart. Just as she was about to cross the road to look for some temp work at the night market, the black Mercedes slammed on its brakes. Its tires screeched. On the wet road. The window slid down, revealing a fat, oily face as Heartwarming. The local copper king, a mining big shot. He had a gold watch, a thick gold chain around his neck, wearing designer threads, yet here he was, speeding through a rainstorm. Black bitch. He yelled, his voice like a crack of thunder. Trying to get killed, you getting mud on my car. Amina jumped back, sta riled. The next thing she knew, her foot slipped and she went crashing down into the filthy water. Instinctively, she rolled to take the hit, landing under her daughter. Muddy water soaked her back. In that split second, the edge of her raincoat flicked mud splatter across the Mercedes door. Ah! Heartwarming exploded, like he'd been snakebit. My car. That's brand new imported paint. You dirt poor trash, could you even pay for that? Amina struggled to get up, to say she was sorry, but mud and rainwater blinded her. Before she could make a sound, Heartwarming had rolled up the window, stomped on the gas, and the Mercedes shot four-way RD like an arrow, drenching her completely with another wave of filthy water. Knelt there in the sludge, rain and TRS mixing on her face. Lucy sobbed quietly in her arms. Mama, why did he yell at you? Amina hugged her daughter tight, her voice a whisper. Lucy, remember today. Remember the color of that car, remember that man's face. We don't live off handouts, but we sure as hell won't be stomped into the mud like that. Amina wasn't just another slum dweller. She came from the edges of the Maasai lands up north, mixed heritage. Her dad was Tanzanian, a geologist who'd worked for the National Mineral Boer Road. Her mom was Luo, from Kenya, a village teacher. Amina grew up steeped in both cultures. Her father taught her to read maps and rocks. Her mother taught her Luo sayings, rivers don't flow backway RDS, but seeds can bloom in a rock's crack. But fate wasn't kind. Her father died in a landslide during a field survey, accidental, said the cops, but Amina always had her doubts. Right before, he'd been excited, telling her he'd found a rare lithium vein, worth a fortune. He hadn't reported it yet when he died. His notebook, his map gone without a trace. Amina still had her father's other, yellowed notebook, hidden in a hole in the tin shack wall. Her only real inheritance. Over the years, using the community center's internet, she'd taught herself geology, mining laws, even translated English articles on her phone. She dreamed of one day using that knowledge to take Lucy away from the muck, send her to school in Nairobi, live clean lives with respect. And Ka Ruma on the surface, he was the poster child for Africa Rising, the homegrown businessman in the news. In reality he got rich playing dirty with officials, squeezing miners dry, smuggling ore. He owned copper-cobalt mines across Tanzania, Zambia, Congo. Workers slaved 12-hour days in deep shafts for less than $100 a month. Accidents happened often. Ka Ruma bought silence instead of workers' comp insurance. The worst part he'd be on TV, talking big, Africa's resources should serve Africans. Meanwhile, his daughter went to a private school in London, he mostly lived in Dubai, and most of the money flowed straight into offshore accounts. Amina knew. She'd stumbled onto an old mining forum post years ago. There was a picture of Ka Ruma with local officials. In the background the very mountains her father had surveyed. Eventually, the rain eased off. Amina Ca ride Lucy back to RDS. Their shack. Outside, the acacia tree her father planted swayed in the wind, leaves stripped off, but the trunk stood strong. He'd said, acacias don't fear our drought or wind. Roots deep, they live long. Amina, be like this tree. She put Lucy down on the straw mattress, gently drying her hair. Then she reached into the wall hole for the yellowed notebook, flipping through pages of cramped notes and hand-drawn maps. Her finger stopped at a RK, latitude 3 degrees 15 minutes north, longitude 36 degrees 48 minutes east. High lithium potential. With a pencil, she sketched a vein route beside it. Softly, she murmured, Lucy, we don't live off handouts. We climb out with what we know. Outside, the rain had stopped. A gap opened in the clouds, moonlight spilled onto the acacia leaves. The raindrops caught the light, shining like millions of stars fallen to earth. Amina didn't sleep that night. She sat at the small table. Under the weak light, copying out her father's notes, word by word. She knew the road ahead was pitch black, like the rainy night. But she also knew, the rain always stops. The sun always comes up, and dignity it shouldn't be drowned in muddy water. It deserves to stand tall in the daylight. 3 months later, the sun in Dar es Salaam was scorching hot, baking the asphalt roads. Amina was still selling cassava cakes at the street corner, with Lucy handing her wrapping paper from a little stool. Business was worse than usual. Right after the rainy season, street vendors had multiplied, making competition fierce. Amina's hands were blistered from the frying oil, but she bit her lip, refusing to complain. The humiliation from that rainy night stuck like a thorn in her heart. She hadn't told anyone, not even Lucy. But late at night, she'd dream of the black Mercedes and Ka Ruma's sneering face. She knew selling cakes would never lift them out of the mud. She had to find the mineral vein from her father's notebook. The lucky break came at a second-hand book market, where Amina often hunted for cheap textbooks. As she thumbed through a tattered copy of African geological structures, she heard a cough behind her. A book, it's useful, a raspy voice said. She turned to see an old man with white hair, wearing a faded khaki shirt and thick glasses. His name was Van der Merwe, a retired South African geologist who'd taught at the University of Johannesburg. He saw Amina's passion for geology and took her under his wing, lending her a beat-up laptop and teaching her GIS software, a tool that turns coordinates, terrain, and mineral data into visual maps. Knowledge shouldn't gather dust in books, he told her. Not for a woman bent on changing her fate. Amina treasured that laptop. She pored over her father's notes, typing in coordinates, rock descriptions, and sample IDs. When the data formed a clear curve on the screen, she gasped. It was an unregistered lithium vein, stretching near the Tanzania-Kenya border, close to where her father had surveyed. Even more stunning, its estimated grade was over 1.5%, a world-class deposit. Her heart drummed like crazy. If this was real, she wouldn't just take Lucy away from the slums, she could build schools, fix roads, and lift the whole village up. But reality doused her hopes fast. She anonymously submitted her data and maps to Tanzania's mining bureau. A month later, the reply came, incomplete documents. Application rejected. She tried again. Same result. She finally understood. Heartwarming had bought off the local officials. Anything threatening his interests would get smothered in the crib. She went to a lawyer. He flipped through her papers, shaking his head. Amina, you have no company, no capital. You can't even get exploration rights. The law sides with the rich. But this is the truth. Her voice trembled. Truth needs power to back it up, he sighed. Unless you register a company abroad, use international law to shield yourself. Then it hit her. She remembered her father mentioning community co-ops. In Rwanda and Kenya, villagers could pool land Shah residential to form small mining companies, fighting off corporate land grabs. She decided to return to her northern homeland and convince families crushed by Heartwarming to start the Acacia Minerals Co-op. She registered in Rwanda, pro-women policies, open business laws, and a fairer justice system. She took Lucy on the bumpy, 2-day bus ride back to the village. Some neighbors pitied her, others mocked her, a widow running a mine dream. On. But she dug in her heels. She gathered everyone at the old church, showing her father's notes, GIS maps, and global lithium prices. Heartwarming stole our minerals, made billions, but never paved a road or built a school, she read. Now we do it ourselves. Old miners wept. One named Musa, who'd lost fingers and breathed dust in Heartwarming's pits without compensation, stood up, I'll pledge my family's land. Amina, lead us. 7 families joined, pooling land to register the co-op in Rwanda. Amina encrypted the data and reached out to Roots of Africa, an international environmental group, via the DRK web. She gave them a lead, Heartwarming's cobalt mines in Congo, where workers dug re-handed, toxic waste poisoned rivers, and children crawled into pits. The group sent undercover journalists posing as tourists. Their footage went viral, kids hauling or up shafts, green glowing sludge. Villagers with rotting skin. The hashtag Clean Congo exploded online. Protests erupted in Europe and America. Heartwarming's stocks plummeted, a danger followed. One night, 2 thugs broke into her tin shack, smashed her laptop, and left a note, back off, or your daughter pays. Terrified, Amina fled with Lucy to Nairobi, hiding in a Kenyan church shelter, a safe house for women escaping violence. She taught kids by day and studied the maps by candlelight, surviving on donations from church sisters. Just as hope flickered out, a Rwandan investor named Nadine Ape read. She ran the African Women Entrepreneurs Fund and had read Amina's story. She studied Amina, frail but fierce-eyed, and said, I'll give $500,000 seed funding. But you've got 30 days to prove the deposit exists. No proof, no money. Amina nodded. I'll do it. She pulled together a ragtag team, 2 geology students, an ex-soldier for security, and 2 local guides. With Rusty drilling they trekked into the jungle. Rain washed out paths, the team wanted to quit. On day 3, food ran out. The satellite phone died. At night, Amina stood in the mud, rain streaming down her face. She looked at her team and whispered, Lucy asked why I always work in the rain. I said, rainbows come after storms. We're not here for money. We're here to prove people like us don't stay in the mud. The team fell silent. Old Musa stood, I trust you. Tomorrow, we take the Maasai hunting trail, bypass the landslide. Dawn, day 7. The drill bit hit hard rock. The core sample gleamed gray-white with metallic streaks. Amina's hands shook as she tested it, strong positive for lithium ions, we found it. She sank to her knees, sobbing. Samples sent to Nairobi confirmed it 3 days later, grade 1. 8%, reserves over 500,000 tons, worth billions. Acacia Minerals shot to fame overnight. Meanwhile, K.A. Ruma sipped champagne on his yacht in Dubai. His aide reported that Amina woman registered a company. She's got the data. K.A. Ruma snorted, some penniless woman? Dig up her dirt. Make her disappear. He didn't know the storm had already begun. The roots of the acacia tree had dug deep into Africa's soil. News about Acacia Minerals lithium finds spread like wildfire across Africa's business pages. Amina's satellite phone STA route blowing up with calls from international investors. The first to land in Nairobi was a rep from Siemens Energy Germany, slick suit, polite smile. Ms. Amina, he said, will invest $200 million for 49% of your company. Joint development. Amina sat in a church meeting room they'd lent her. Lucy drew quietly in the corner. Amina scanned the contract. What if I say no? That would be unfortunate, the German replied, smile vanishing. African mining needs tech and capital. Without us, you won't even get a mining permit. Amina smiled. She fired up the projector, showing footage her team shot, clear our streams, thick forests, villagers farming. We don't want strip mining. We want fair mining. Locals keep 51% ownership, workers get 10% shares, 5% of profits go straight back to build schools and clinics. Tech. Wheel partner. Control never. The German STA read, speechless. He'd never seen an African woman hold her ground like this at the table. Next came CATL, Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited, from China. More practical. They offered tech partnerships, advanced processing HAR, training local engineers, building eco-friendly plants. Amina nodded. This we can discuss. But the real storm came from K.A. Ruma. He unleashed his media machine. A pro-government Tanzanian paper ran the headline, Acacia Minerals, Fake Data, the widow's hidden agenda, hinting Amina faked reports to scam investors. Online trolls flooded comments, a cassava seller playing geologist joke. Foreign puppets behind her. Worse hit, Tanzania's mining bureau slapped Acacia with an illegal use of national resources order, freezing exploration. Amina's bank accounts got locked. Team members got threatening calls. Red paint splashed doors, traitor. Amina didn't flinch. She knew K.A. Ruma's game, crush opponents with power and fear. She fought back. At a press conference, she laid it all bare, her father's original notebook, GPS logs, core samples, third PA Rudy lab reports. She invited UN Environment Program Africa to verify. I'm not after money. I want truth. If I faked this, prove it here. Now. UN inspectors went in, tested samples. 7 days later, data confirmed. Deposit real. Huge potential. The story flipped overnight. Hashtag Justice for Acacia blew up across Africa. Kenya's president tweeted, Amina proves African women's wisdom is this continent's richest resource. Rwanda went further. The president's office named Acacia Minerals part of its National Green Energy Strategy, tax breaks, legal protection. The Rwanda Stock Exchange invited them to list. March 15, 2025, Kigali. Acacia Minerals rang the bell at the Rwanda Stock Exchange. Amina stood at the podium in a deep blue African wax print gown, Lucy beside her. Stock ticker Acacia opened, and shot up 300%. Ordinary folks from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania scrambled to buy shares. This is our African mine. Support Amina. Slap K.A. Ruma. K.A. Ruma's empire began to crumble like cheap concrete. He'd borrowed big to expand, bought mansions, super KRS, kept mistresses. Under global pressure, European banks pulled his loans. The killer blow Congo, DRC, shut down his biggest copper mine over toxic waste. Workers walked out. Equipment sat idle. Millions lost daily. His East Africa Mining Alliance partners jumped ship. A Zambian contact secretly called Amina, "We'll sell you Heartwarming at cost. Just work with us later." Amina didn't kick him while he was down. Real victory, she knew, wasn't destroying enemies but building something new. Through an anonymous fund in Mauritius, she quietly bought one of Heartwarming's dying cobalt mines in Congo, DRC. The place was hell on earth, child labor, constant deaths. Amina's first move, shut the death trap pits, bring in safe machines. She built clean dorms, a clinic, a canteen. Every worker got Shah-Re certificates. On opening day, she stood on a platform, speaking Swahili, "You're not slaves. You're Shah-Re holders. Your sweat will pay for your kids' school fees, your family's roof, your dignity." Silence. Then thunderous applause. An old miner knelt and kissed her hand. "Madam, 30 Rs, first time someone called us people." Heartwarming sat in his Johannesburg penthouse, watching the news. Amina speaking, new buildings behind her, smiling faces. He smashed the remote. That woman from the gutter. He muttered. He didn't grasp, Amina had moved beyond revenge. She was playing a bigger game. The acacia model STA root catching fire. Nigerian palm oil farmers formed co-ops, using blockchain to cut out crooked middlemen. Ghanaian cocoa growers exported direct to European chocolatiers. Rwandan women engineers launched Africa Mine Map, free geology advice for small miners. Amina's name became shorthand for Africa rising on its own terms. Heartwarming total collapse. Mansion seized. CARS auctioned. Mistress is gone. He crouched in a Johannesburg slum shack, living off scraps from former thugs. TV news showed Amina speaking at Davos, "Africa's wealth shouldn't line a few pockets. We don't want handouts, but fair deals. Not dependence, but self-reliance." He sta read at the screen. The woman he'd called black bitch in the rain now stood center stage, voice calm but powerful. Suddenly, the dam broke. He wept. Not from hate, but deep, gut-wrenching regret. He remembered his father, a humble miner, buried alive in a collapse. He'd sworn his son would escape that life. Yet he'd become something worse than the bosses. At rainy night, he whispered to the empty room. If I'd just handed her an umbrella, maybe everything would be different. 3 hours later, northern Tanzania, rainy season had just ended, sunlight soaking the wide-open land. What was once boer mining territory was now shaded with new trees. Solar panels gleamed blue under the sun, like peaceful lakes. The modern processing plant hummed softly, no smoke, no ROA ring noise, just the gentle clank of machines and the easy chatter of workers. This was the Acacia Minerals compound, a Model 4 green mining in Africa. Amina stood on the central viewing platform, the wind catching her wax print dress. She no longer wore that battered raincoat, but her eyes were still clear and steady. 8-year-old Lucy bounced off the school bus, pigtails swinging, backpack thumping. "Mama, I got first place in my class." Amina bent down, hugging her daughter. "So proud. Daddy in heaven, he's beaming for you." She'd moved the company headquarters back home, building the father's Memorial School of Geology. It trained young African geologists for free. In the classrooms, students from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda pored over textbooks. Written on the black board, knowledge is light. It shines on treasures underground, and lights up our path. Later, a Maasai elder clasped a beaded necklace around her neck, red and white beads shaped like the sun. His hands trembled as he touched her cheek. "Amina," he said, "you made the acacia tree bloom gold. We once pushed you away because your mother was not Maasai. But you showed us true roots." That's Heart touching Heart. Amina's eyes shimmered with tears. I only finished my father's work. Acacia's reach went far beyond mining. Nigeria's palm oil collective used her model, cutting out middlemen, doubling Farmer's pay. Ghana's cocoa blockchain project stopped price cheating, letting kids carry new school bags. African youth called her the mineral queen, but she preferred Sister Amina. She rooted the miners' children show leadership, sending hundreds to school. Every September, she'd wave the kids onto buses. Education, she'd say, that's the key breaking poverty's chains. Just then, security led in a man in rags thought Heartwarming Amina Ba Rely recognized him. Mining Tycn from 3 years ago was now skin and bone, covered in grime, a ragged beard. He stood by the office door, head low, like a fallen branch, stripped of life. Can we talk? His voice rasped like sandpaper. Just a minute. Amina offered him a seat, a glass of water. Lucy peeked curiously, but Amina gently steered her out. I was wrong. Heartwarming lifted his head, tears filling his eyes. My father was a miner. Died in a shaft. I swore I'd make it big. But I forgot where I came from. I became the very monster I hated, climbing over others. He pulled out the newspaper, the one that Smea read her years back. If I'd handed you that umbrella on that rainy night, maybe none of this would have happened. Amina stayed quiet a moment. Then she pulled a contract from her drawer. I'm hiring you as ethics advisor, she said. Pays $1 a year. Your job, travel Africa telling business leaders, greed costs more than bankruptcy. Heartwarming read in shock. You don't hate me. Hate doesn't build anything. Amina looked out at the acacia trees. I want a new world. Made not with revenge, but with hope. Heartwarming wept. For the first time as a grown man, he began his tour. In university halls, community centers, mine canteens, he read his fall and awakening. Amina taught me, he'd say, real treasure not the numbers in your bank. It's how many you helped stand tall. June 2025, Davos, Switzerland. Amina took the stage at the World Economic Forum. Before global leaders, she wore no fancy gown, just a simple African cotton dress, a dried acacia flower tucked in her hair. I'm not here to cut deals, she began, voice calm. I came to pay a debt to forgotten miners, poisoned lands, women the world looked down on. Africa's wealth, it can't just fill a few pockets. It belongs in clean water for every child, a desk in every classroom, eyes turned toward the stars. Silence fell across the hall. Then thunderous applause rolled in like a storm. Time magazine named her to the 100 most influential list, calling her the quiet revolutionary who rewrote Africa's rules of wealth. The rains returned. Amina stood under her father's acacia tree, Lucy leaning against her hip. Beyond them, the lights of the new village clinic glowed, and children's laughter danced through the falling rain. Mama Lucy looked up. Why do you always watch this tree? Because it taught me. Amina touched the weathered bark, her palm tracing the rings. Sink roots deep, the wind won't push you down. No storm stops spring. She pulled out her phone, opening an old photo. Rainy night, 3 years ago. A woman kneeling in mud, cradling her child. Now that same woman stood in sunlight. Behind her, factories, schools, hope. The rain petered out. A crack tore open the clouds. A vast rainbow stretched across the green hills, its colors washing over the acacia tree. Raindrops on its leaves shone like countless stars fallen to earth.